The fall 2022 release of new mPulse UI brings with it a host of new features that we think unlock the power, precision, and flexibility of our timers and metrics in your charts, allowing you to gain insights faster and to make charts that more closely fit your needs. The headline features for this release are Performance Explorer. Performance Explorer is a new tab in the UI which contains a number of new custom dashboards tailored to your needs, and also the timers and metric details dashboards which form the backbone of our timer and metric drill down system. Multi-series charts. Until now, only the table chart allowed you to display more than one timer or metric at a time. Now you can add multiple series in any line, bar, area, or combo chart. We also have added numerous additions to the UI and tweaks to exactly control how these display. Performance lines. Now, line charts can display performance colors for timers and metrics which have performance thresholds defined for them. This allows you to see at a glance how your key timers and metrics are performing. As previously mentioned, we have a slew of supporting features to round out the UI experience and to give you total control where possible. We will take a look at these in our fall 2022 New Features Deep Dive series of videos. But let's get back to our headline features and take a look at Performance Explorer. Performance Explorer is a new navbar tab in which we've collected together dashboards which allow you to explore your data. If we go to the Performance Explorer tab, you can see we're in Performance Explorer, and on the left-hand side we have a set of accordions, and they are divided into two main groups. There's the Themes accordion, which has specific dashboards based on specific themes. And then you have the timers and metrics details dashboards, and we've grouped those together using the key performance, accordion, metrics, and timers. That may seem a little odd, but it'll make sense once we explain how that works. So let's first of all take a look at the themes dashboards. You can see that by default, it's opened the Core Web Vitals dashboard, and each one of these dashboards is based on a specific data theme, as the name might suggest. So we've got backend performance, Core Web Vitals, JavaScript performance, visual performance, and perceived performance. And for Core Web Vitals, for instance, you can see that we have three timers. Well, you've got two timers, and a metric. Each one of these has two separate charts which actually show the value. The first is a summary widget, and summary widgets aggregate a value over time. So in this case, the period that we're looking at is the last 24 hours, which is the filter on the entire dashboard, so they inherit that. And you can see that we're seeing the last 24 hours for largest contentful paint, first input delay, and cumulative layout shift. Below each of these is a new chart called the performance line. It's a new feature, and the performance line allows you to see the performance in what we call RAG colors, red, amber, green, which are the colors which you can see here. This is actually indicating performance as well. It allows you to see the performance over time, which is, as I said, different to the summary widget in that it's an aggregate. Here you can see the individual performance values over time. And as you can see, the line itself is color coded, and that indicates good performance, moderate performance, okay performance, whichever way you want to say it, and then bad performance when it goes red. So you can see that for largest contentful paint, the performance started off being good, then went to being moderate, and then eventually became bad. First input delay, it was good, then became moderate, and for cumulative layout shift, started off being good and has just slipped now into being okay. So if we have a look at backend performance, you can see it's a very similar situation, but in here we've obviously got some more timers and metrics, 6 rather than 3, and you'll find a similar situation for the other dashboards. So if you want to get an insight into the performance of your website and you want a very quick way in, you can just go to the Performance Explorer, click on one of these dashboards in the themes accordion, and you've got an easy way into getting a very quick insight into where your performance is at over time, as well as these aggregated values. Okay, so next we're going to look at the timers and metrics details dashboards. So the way you can get into these dashboards is you can either use the accordions on the left-hand side. So this accordion, for instance, has the key performance indicators all grouped together. And you can see it's mostly timers, but we also do actually have one metric in here as well. So it is a mixture. What we've done is then for the other metrics and timers, we've grouped them into their own accordions, as you can see here. It's important to realize that any metric which is actually in this list or timer is not going to be in these other lists here, because we wanted you to either be in one accordion or another. You can't really be in both. And that will become apparent why a little bit later. If you click on one of these, let's have a look at, for instance, TLS Handshake. Just wait for the data to come in for that. These dashboards are kind of special. We'll be looking at this in a lot more detail in the deep dive video. But basically, this dashboard shows you the performance of whatever timer or metric that you click on. It's using selectors. So you can see up here, the input is actually set to TLS Handshake, and these charts are then showing TLS Handshake. In this section, leading indicators, it's plural because you can have 0 in leading indicators or as many as 7. And that depends on whichever timer or metric that you clicked on. So this area of the dashboard is completely dynamic, and it depends which timer or metric you clicked on. And then below it, we've got a new widget called Related Timers. And Related Timers basically shows you a breakdown of where within the load of your page the particular timer or metric that you've clicked on is. So you can see in this case, TLS Handshake is here. So that gives you an idea, and this will vary depending on if the timer that you've clicked on is part of this hierarchy or not. So yeah, again, it's fully dynamic. So there are two ways that you can get to these dashboards. You can either click on any of these items here in this list, timers, metric, or so on, but you can also click on the title of a summary widget. So if I were to click on this would take me to this dashboard, and we would look at TLS Handshake, which obviously doesn't make sense because we'd kind of be going around in a circle. But if we were to click on client round trip time, that would take us to this dashboard looking at that. Let's go back to the home page. And we've got 3 widgets here, largest contentful paint. Let's have a look at first input delay. And we can actually have a look at that in the dashboard that I just showed you. So we click on here. You can see that it's one of the key performance indicators. There it is selected. And if we give it a moment, the data will come through and it will show the information on first input delay. If we go back to the home page and we were to click on cumulative layout shift, the same thing. This is a metric. So in this case, you can see that a couple of the things at the bottom are missing. That's because the related timers doesn't make any sense because this is a metric. And the leading indicators doesn't make any sense because for this particular metric, there aren't any. So you can see in this particular case, this dashboard looks a little bit truncated, but that's because those charts, they don't actually make any sense for cumulative layout shift. It's a very powerful feature. You can basically see a timer or a metric anywhere in the UI, and you can click on the title of it if it's a summary widget, and you can be brought to these dashboards and see what's going on with your data. So yeah, there we are. That is Performance Explorer. It's a set of features which we brought together under the Performance Explorer tab. I think it's going to be something that's going to give a lot of value to many customers. If you've used the original mPulse, you will have seen charts which show more than one series of data on a single y-axis. We call this feature multi-series, and we now support multi-series in line, bar, area, and combo charts. Let's have a look at how this works, and we'll use a bar chart as an example. So I've gone to the Dashboards tab, and I've gone to the Widgets tab here, and I want to create a new chart, and I'm going to choose bar chart. Now, basically, pretty much every bar chart starts off with time, although you can actually use page load here, but we're going to drag time here. And next, I'm going to drag in a timer. I'm going to go for page load. So let's drag that in here. And if we wait a second, it'll actually render the chart. And there's your bar chart. This is a single series chart because it shows a single series of data. You'll notice on the left-hand side that page load is now disabled because we're already using it. But that means that these other timers are actually viable. We can drag those in. So if I take DOM ready and drag it in, and just wait a second, there we go. It's now rendered DOM ready as well as page load. It's now a multi-series chart. It's as simple as that. If I drag in front-end time, just wait a second again, and now it's rendered front-end time. So each one of these points in time is a single point in time with the series data shown together. We can also do the same thing with a line chart. Let's quickly look at that. If we go back to Dashboards, Widgets, New, I'll create a line chart, and it's basically the same. Bar charts, line charts, and area charts, they all follow a very similar pattern. We dragged in time. Next, I'm going to drag in a metric. Let's drag in one of these sizes here. Just wait a second and it'll render. There we go. And now I'm going to drag in another metric. Wait for that to render. And as you can see, multi-series works with line. If we were to go to area, we would have a very similar workflow. What's pretty exciting as well is that multi-series works with combo charts. So that's pretty cool. So let's take a look at that. If we go to widgets and new, and we go to combo chart, and I'm going to drag in time again. What I'm going to do is on the first y-axis, I'm going to drag in one of the size values here. And on the other axis, I'm going to drag in one of the timers like first paint. We'll just wait a second, wait for it to render. This is a standard combo chart in that it combines two different series, but on two different y-axes. So the area is the first y-axis and the line first paint is the second axis, as you can see here in the labels. What we can do is, just as we saw with a normal line area bar chart, we can also extend this. So now I'm going to take another size here, drop it in here. And if we wait a second, there we are. It's now rendered as multi-series. We can do, let's say, font transfer size as well. Just wait for that to render. There we are, font transfer size. And in the foreground, we've got a single series, but we can turn that into multi-series simply by adding another timer. So let's go for front end time. Just wait a second. And there we go. So now you can layer your charts with a combo chart, and you can have multi-series on the first Y pad here, and you can have another multi-series chart on the second Y pad. And you can do the same thing with line, area, and bar chart, which opens up a whole world of possibilities in the product. So I think you'll agree it's a really very welcome feature, and one that's going to really open up a lot of possibilities to a lot of users. It's useful when working with your key timers and metrics to have a dashboard or a series of dashboards where you can see at a glance when their performance is as expected or if it's below par. We already support this to some extent with our summary widgets, though in this chart you can only see the aggregate of the value over a period of time. You can see an example of this on the homepage where we have 3 summary charts. You can see that they're showing the last 7 days worth of values. So the number that you see here is an aggregate. If you wanted to see the values over time, then you're going to need a line chart, and that's where performance lines come in. Now the colors that we use to indicate performance, we call them RAG for short, meaning red, amber and green. Red being poor, amber being okay, and green being optimal. If we wanted to show the same values on a line chart, let's have a look at how we would do that now. We're going to go to Dashboards, Widgets, going to create a new widget, and I'm going to choose a line widget. And you can see we have a new feature down here called Display as Performance. My advice is turn this on first and then choose the timer or metric, because not every timer or metric actually has performance thresholds built into it. And that means you can't use this feature with every single timer or metric. If you turn this feature on, the sidebar will actually filter and show you the timers or the metrics which actually work with this feature. So it works with some metrics, but it definitely works with a lot more timers. So if you go here, you can see all the timers which are supported, which is almost everything. So let's have a look at, say, DOM ready. If we drag that in and we put time in here as well, just wait for the chart to render, you can see we've got performance. Green is showing when the performance is optimal. Amber is when it's okay, moderately good. And the other thing which is worth noting is that we have the threshold line here. So you can see that for this particular timer for DOM ready, it's 2.5 seconds from when you go from good performance to moderate performance. Different timers have different thresholds. It's very much dependent upon how fast they are. Some timers are based on milliseconds, others are based on seconds. So it's a per timer or metric value. Once you've got that enabled, you can save the chart and then you can use it in your dashboards, and it works like any other chart. There are some caveats with it. I won't really go into that here. We'll look at that in the deep dive videos, but it's a very useful feature. You can have a dashboard with a number of these in, as we've done with the themes dashboards in Performance Explorer, and it's really good for seeing at a glance how your key timers and metrics are performing, because you can see very clearly whether they're green or amber or red, and then act on how they're performing. So that's it for the headline features of the fall 2022 release. However, we will be supplying deep dive videos where we look in more detail at some of the finer points that drive these new features and on the various caveats you should be aware of when using them. I hope to see you there.